I feel like the first thing I need to say is, this person is trying to think their way out of feeling you, and it is not working. Like, not even a little bit. And that is why this energy feels so strange already. Because this does not feel like someone who is just casually attracted to you. This feels like someone who has sat with themselves and genuinely tried to make a logical list of reasons. Why they should not feel this strongly. Why they should not be this curious. Why they should not keep circling back to your name, your face, your energy, your voice, whatever it is about you that got under their skin. But the more they try to explain it away, the more intense it becomes. And with this King of Swords reversed energy, symbolically, I'm getting somebody whose mind is usually their safest place. This is someone who likes answers. They like control. They like things to make sense before they allow themselves to move. They might even be the type of person who tells themselves, no, I'm being irrational. No, this is just attraction. No, this is just curiosity. No, this doesn't mean anything. But you need to hear this part. The reason it feels dangerous to them is because you are bypassing their logic completely. You're not entering through the door they usually guard. You're not entering through what they can analyze or categorize or explain to their friends. You're entering through something deeper, something quieter, something they cannot put language around. And I feel like that is making them feel almost exposed, because they're realizing there is a part of them that still responds to you, even when their mind says not to. And I don't know who this is for, but I keep hearing, I shouldn't still be thinking about them. Like that sentence keeps looping. I shouldn't still be thinking about them. I shouldn't still feel this. I shouldn't still wonder. I shouldn't still care. But they do, and that is the part that is defying all logic. This may be someone who has gone quiet. This may be someone who acts calm, detached, even unaffected. But energetically, no, absolutely not. Their mind is loud about you. Their spirit is louder. And this is where it gets strange, because I don't even think they fully understand whether they want to run from you or run toward you. Because running from you would mean they can keep pretending this is just something inconvenient. Something they can outgrow, something they can starve by not feeding it attention. But running toward you would mean they have to admit that something inside of them has already moved before they gave it permission to move. And that is where this Ten of Swords energy feels so loud to me. Because symbolically, this is not just someone thinking too much. This is someone whose thoughts have turned against them. Like their mind, which used to be their safest place, has almost become the place where they keep replaying the same question and getting no answer. Why them? Why this person? Why now? Why do I still feel it? Why does this feel unfinished? And I don't know why this feels important, but I'm getting that this person is used to being able to predict their own reactions. They know what they like. They know what they avoid. They know when they're interested, when they're bored, when they're done, when they're detached. That is part of how they keep themselves feeling powerful. They understand themselves through logic, through patterns, through control. But with you, their own pattern is not patterning. They may have expected themselves to move on faster. They may have expected the feeling to calm down once they got distance, once they stopped talking, once they distracted themselves, once they told themselves all the reasons this does not make sense. But the body remembers what the mind keeps trying to delete. The spirit reacts before the explanation arrives. And that is what scares them. Because this does not feel like, oh, I'm attracted to them. No, this feels like, why does something in me recognize them? And that is a very different kind of fear. That is why they may feel almost betrayed by themselves. Like there is a part of them that keeps reaching for you internally, even while another part of them is standing there with a sword saying, absolutely not. We are not doing this. We are not opening that door. We are not making this bigger than it has to be. but it is already bigger. And I keep hearing, this was not supposed to matter. That's the sentence. This was not supposed to matter. Maybe you were supposed to be a passing thought. Maybe you were supposed to be someone they could explain away. Maybe you were supposed to be a moment, a distraction, a curiosity. But now they're starting to wonder if you were actually something they were never supposed to ignore. And with this 3 of Pentacles reversed showing up here, I feel like that is exactly where the contradiction starts to reveal itself. Because on the outside, this person may act like they are not invested, like they are not studying you, like they are not paying attention to what you do, what you say, how you move, who you interact with, what changes in your energy. But internally, they are taking notes. And not in a calm way either, not in a simple, oh, I noticed that kind of way. This feels like someone trying to collect evidence against the feeling. But somehow every piece of evidence keeps proving the feeling is still there. They may check something and tell themselves it means nothing. They may reread something and tell themselves they were just bored. They may replay a moment and say, no, I'm only thinking about that because it was unusual. But the amount of explaining they have to do is already the answer. They can say they don't care. They can act like it's nothing. They can tell themselves they are too busy, too practical, too logical, too removed from this to be affected. But then your absence gets loud. Your silence becomes noticeable. Your energy not being available in the same way starts to bother them more than they expected. And I feel like, for some of you, this person has tried to make you smaller in their mind. Not because you are small, but because making you smaller makes the feeling seem less threatening. They may tell themselves, it's just chemistry. It's just ego. It's just because I don't have closure. It's just because they're different. But again, the more they reduce it, the more it refuses to stay reduced. That is very 3 of Pentacles reversed to me, symbolically. Something is not cooperating with the structure they are trying to build. Their mind wants all the pieces to fit neatly. This goes here, that means that. This feeling belongs in this category. This person is this kind of person. This connection is just this. But you keep slipping out of the category, and you need to hear this part. Do not confuse their silence with indifference. For some of them, the quietness is not proof that they feel nothing. The quietness is the way they keep themselves from revealing too much. It is self-protection. It is containment. It is them trying not to expose that they are still affected. Because their biggest problem is not just that they are drawn to you. Their biggest problem is that something about you is exposing a truth they have been avoiding in themselves. And with this 9 of Pentacles reversed here, I feel like the truth has something to do with independence, self-worth, and the version of themselves they thought was complete without ever having to be truly seen. Because this is not just, I want them. It's not that simple. It's more like, why does being around them make me aware of what I have been pretending I don't need? And that is a much harder thing for this person to sit with. I feel like this is someone who may have built a life, or built an identity, around being fine, being self-contained, being unbothered, being the person who does not need too much from anyone. They may take pride in that. They may even tell themselves, I'm good on my own. I don't need this. I don't need to feel this. I don't need to open myself up to something that could make me feel unstable. But then you come in, and again, you're not necessarily chasing. You're not necessarily demanding. You may not even be doing anything loud. It's almost like your energy doesn't argue with them. It just stands there. And somehow that is what makes it impossible to ignore. Because your presence reflects something back to them. It shows them where they have settled for control instead of connection. It shows them where they have confused independence with emotional hiding. It shows them where they have been performing stability while quietly starving a part of themselves that still wants to feel something real. And I don't know who needs to hear it this way, but they are not only drawn to your beauty, your energy, your voice, your presence, whatever it is. They are drawn to the part of themselves that wakes up around you. That is what makes this feel dangerous. Because if it was only about wanting you, they could maybe manage that. They could maybe put it in a box. They could maybe say, okay, I'm attracted. That's all. But this is touching identity. This is touching the part of them that says, maybe I am not as detached as I thought. Maybe I am not as satisfied as I told myself. Maybe I have been calling it peace when really it was just distance. Maybe I have been calling it standards when really it was fear. And that can create resentment. Not because you did anything wrong, but because a part of them wants you closer, and another part of them blames you for awakening something they cannot put back to sleep. And with this Eight of Cups reversed here, that makes so much sense to me. Because symbolically, this is someone who keeps trying to walk away from the feeling, but cannot fully leave it alone. They may physically step back. They may emotionally withdraw. They may create distance. They may act like, okay, I'm done thinking about this. I'm done giving this power. I'm done letting this person affect me. But then something pulls them right back into the same internal room. The same memory. The same question. The same strange pull in the chest that they cannot justify. And I feel like that is where the defensiveness comes in. Because when someone wants to be free from a feeling, but they are not actually free, they can become cold. They can become critical. They can start looking for reasons why the feeling is wrong, instead of asking why the feeling is there. They may pick apart little things about you. They may tell themselves you are too intense, too complicated, too different, too hard to read. They may say the timing is wrong, the situation is wrong, the distance is wrong, the circumstances are wrong, and maybe some of those things are real, but you need to hear this part. None of that is cancelling the pull. It is just giving their mind something to hold on to, because the mind needs a reason, especially this person's mind. It needs a reason to stay guarded. It needs a reason to keep the door half closed. It needs a reason to say, see? This is why we should not go there. But the deeper part of them is not convinced. The deeper part is still standing at the threshold, looking back. And I want to be very clear. This does not excuse someone being confusing with you. It does not excuse someone making you feel like you have to decode every silence, every shift, every cold moment, every sudden pullback. But energetically, this explains why the energy is so weird, because they are not simply uninterested. They are conflicted. They are pulled in, and then they punish themselves for being pulled in. They want to understand you, and then they get frustrated that they cannot. They want to feel in control, and then your energy does something they did not authorize. They want to walk away cleanly, but the feeling keeps following them, and I keep hearing, they don't fit. Not in a bad way, more like, you don't fit into the categories they already know how to control. That is the real fear. And with this sun reversed here, that is exactly the energy. Because the sun, symbolically, is visibility. It is warmth, it is clarity. It is the thing that cannot really hide once it starts shining. But reversed. This feels like someone trying to dim what they feel before it becomes too obvious. They are trying to keep the light contained. And I feel like that is why your energy unsettles them so much. Because you may not be the type of person they can fully predict. You may have softness, but you are not weak. You may be warm, but you are not always available. You may be open, but you are not easy to possess. You may be honest, but there is still something about you that they cannot completely decode. And that combination is messing with them. Because I feel like this person is used to certain patterns. They may be used to people who chase. People who explain themselves too much. People who make their interests so obvious that this person can stay in control because they know exactly where they stand. Or they may be used to connections where they can step back and the other person fills in the silence for them. The other person reaches. The other person proves. The other person makes it easy for them not to be vulnerable. But with you, it does not feel that simple. It is almost like they cannot tell whether you are close or far. They cannot tell whether they have access to you, or whether they only have access to the version of you they created in their mind. And that is where the danger comes in. Not literal danger. Not like you are doing something wrong. The danger is that you threaten the version of them that depends on control to feel safe. Because if they cannot reduce you to one simple thing, then they cannot manage the feeling in one simple way. They cannot say, "Oh, they are just this." They cannot say, "Oh, I know exactly what this is." They cannot say, "Oh, I know how this ends." There is something about your energy that keeps changing shape depending on how deeply they look at it. One moment you feel comforting to them. The next moment you feel intimidating. One moment you feel familiar. The next moment you feel completely out of reach. And I keep hearing, "I can't get a read on them." That may be their frustration. They cannot get a read on you, but they also cannot stop reading into you. That is the part that is starting to scare them more than the attraction itself. The attraction is not fading with distance. The light is still getting in. And with this Seven of Swords reversed here, that feels very specific. Because this is the part where they cannot really hide from themselves anymore. They can hide from you. They can withhold. They can act mysterious. They can move quietly. They can pretend they are just going about their life, like nothing is touching them, like nothing is following them. But reversed, this Seven of Swords feels like the strategy is starting to fail. The avoidance is starting to reveal itself. The more they try to sneak away from the feeling, the more obvious the feeling becomes inside of them. And I keep getting this sense of them being busy, or trying to be busy. Like, let me focus on work. Let me focus on my routine. Let me talk to other people. Let me distract myself. Let me not check. Let me not think. Let me not care. But then there it is, a song, a phrase, a name that sounds like yours, a place that reminds them of something, a random memory that comes up at the worst possible time, and suddenly they are right back in that energy they were trying to leave. That is why distance is not working. Because if you were physically in front of them, they could blame your presence. They could say, "Well, of course I feel this, because they are around. Of course I'm thinking about them because I saw them. Of course I reacted because they said something." But when you are not doing anything, when you are not reaching, when you are not standing in front of them, when you are not giving them new material to analyze and they still feel you, that is where their logic starts to break down completely. Because now the question becomes, why are they still here? Not physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally. Why are they still here when I walked away from the conversation? Why are they still here when I closed the app? Why are they still here when I told myself this was over, or pointless, or impossible, or not worth thinking about? And you need to hear this part. Your absence is not empty to them. Your absence has a presence. It creates space, and in that space, they hear themselves more clearly. They hear the thoughts they were trying to outrun. They feel the pull they were trying to dismiss. So now this is pushing them toward a breaking point. Either they admit, at least to themselves, that this is real for them, or they double down on denial and become even more restless. And with this Four of Wands coming out here, I feel like that confirmation piece is so important. Because this is not just about them wanting to send a message and get a message back. It feels deeper than that. It feels like they want to know if there is still a doorway open somewhere. Not necessarily a full commitment, not necessarily a huge declaration, but a doorway, a signal, a sense that if they stepped forward, they would not be walking into nothing. And that is where the pressure is building. Because I feel like this person may be hovering around the edge of action. They may be typing something and deleting it. They may be looking at your name and then putting the phone down. They may be watching something, noticing something, checking something, but still not letting themselves fully cross that line. And again, with that King of Swords reversed energy, from the beginning, the words are not flowing cleanly. The thoughts are loud, but the communication is blocked. It is almost like everything gets stuck behind the throat. They want to say something. They don't want to say too much. They want to know if you still feel it. They don't want to reveal that they care. They want access to your energy. They don't want to admit they miss it. They want a sign from you, but they don't want to be the one who looks like they need one. And that is exhausting them more than they want to admit. Because the Four of Wands is also about safety. It is about a place where the nervous system can come down. A place where something feels mutual, welcomed, recognized. And I think that is part of what scares them about you. There is something about your energy that feels like it could be safe, but the possibility of safety is almost more terrifying to them than chaos. Because chaos they know how to manage. Distance they know how to manage. Silence they know how to manage. But being met, being seen, being welcomed without having to perform control, that is where they start to panic. So you may notice this person doing strange little things, becoming warmer and then disappearing, saying something indirect, posting something that feels like it is meant to be noticed, asking a question that is not really the question, acting casual while trying to measure your response. Because what they really want is not just contact. They want confirmation that they are not the only one being affected. And with this Knight of Pentacles reversed here, I feel like this is where the message turns back toward you for a second. Because this person may be moving slowly, or not moving at all. But that does not mean you are supposed to start carrying the movement for both of you. You need to hear that clearly. Because when someone's energy is loud, but their actions are quiet, it can make you feel like maybe you should do something. Maybe you should prove that you feel it too. Maybe you should make it easier for them. Maybe you should give them one more sign, one more opening, one more little piece of reassurance so they finally feel safe enough to stop overthinking. But the Knight of Pentacles reversed is telling me, symbolically, do not get stuck waiting in someone else's hesitation. Do not mistake their internal chaos for an instruction to chase. Do not mistake their fear for your responsibility. Do not mistake their intensity for maturity. Because yes, this person may feel something very strongly. Yes, they may be dangerously drawn to you. Yes, they may be thinking, wondering, replaying, trying to make sense of why your energy still has this hold on them. But intensity alone is not enough. They still have to choose honesty. They still have to choose courage. They still have to choose movement that is grounded in something real, not just moments of curiosity, not just sudden warmth, not just little signs that keep you emotionally hooked while they remain protected. And I feel like your power here is not in convincing them. It is not in explaining your worth. It is not in proving that the connection is real. You do not have to convince someone of what their own spirit already knows. That is the part. Their spirit already knows. Their mind is the one arguing. So your magnetism is strongest when you stay centered. When you do not abandon yourself to be understood by someone who is still afraid of what understanding would require from them. When you let your energy be felt without making it available for free in every direction. And I think they are sensing that. They may be sensing you pulling back, not necessarily in a dramatic way. Just becoming less reachable, less eager, less willing to emotionally overfunction for something they have not had the courage to name. And that shift may be exactly what forces the truth up to the surface. Because they can handle being drawn to you more than they can handle feeling you slip out of reach. And with the Emperor showing up here, this is the whole story in one card. Because this person's attraction to you is not just touching their heart, it is touching their sense of authority over themselves. This is someone who is used to sitting in the seat of control. Even if they do not show it in an obvious way, internally, they like to feel like they are the one deciding what matters. They decide what gets access. They decide what is worth feeling. They decide what becomes serious and what stays contained. But with you, something in them did not wait for permission. And that is what has been defying all logic from the beginning. They may still be telling themselves, I shouldn't still be thinking about them. They may still be trying to stand there like the emperor, composed, grounded, unaffected. Like nothing can move them, unless they allow it. But the roots are telling a different story. Something has gone deeper than they expected. Something about you got underneath the surface, underneath the performance, underneath the part of them that says, I'm fine, I'm in control. I know exactly what this is. No, they don't. And I feel like their next move, whatever it is going to reveal their level of courage. Not just their attraction, not just their curiosity, their courage. Because feeling pulled toward you is one thing. Being honest about what that pull is doing to them is another. And I do not want to sit here and promise that every person is suddenly going to confess everything perfectly, because this energy still has pride in it. It still has fear in it. It still has someone trying to keep their emotional structure from shaking. But the pressure is there. They can run from you. They can run toward you. They can stand completely still and pretend that stillness is a decision. But either way, they are being shown something about themselves through this connection. They are being shown where control ends, where logic stops working, where the body remembers, where the spirit responds before the mind can build an argument. And for you, the message feels very clear. You are not responsible for decoding every silence. You are not responsible for pulling the truth out of someone who is afraid to speak it. But you can trust this. Your presence has affected them more deeply than their behavior may have allowed you to see. Because you are not just a passing thought. You are not just a distraction. You are not just something they could explain away. You are the question their logic still cannot answer.